Hello and welcome. Thank you so much, Pam, for joining us. This is Pam from Kitty Craft, the Kitty Craft herself. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. We really appreciate it, so thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm super psyched that it sort of fit into the schedule, so thanks for having me.
Have you ever been to Richmond before? I'm very curious what your experience is here.
I have been to Richmond. I have a friend who lives here, and I came and visited about 10 years ago, and I really love Richmond. I think the community is just a great progressive group that has amazing coffee shops, and like there's a lot of good things around, and the thing that I really appreciate about it is the sense of history. Here, it's very palpable that you can capture and feel like the history and see it. So I really enjoy that.
It's a very unique area, and I appreciate how much people hone in on the past and not embrace it, but they're able to learn from it and grow from it. And I think that's really good testament of the community and how progressive the area is, and very artistic as well.
Yeah, totally.
Super artsy area. You don't really know it until you're here, but it's such a creative place. So.
It really is.
Yeah, so very, very glad to have you here. And congrats also on your first East Coast tour.
Thank you.
You want to talk a little bit about how that has been so far? What kind of the tour life has been like?
It's been really great. My only sadness is that I wasn't able to come here sooner. But it's been really lovely, and the fans have been amazing and super enthusiastic and really passionate. And I mean, I feel really blessed to get to hang with them. Yeah, and just super encouraging. If I screw up a song, they're like, it's okay, it's okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're totally holding me, and I feel so appreciated. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah, I would say also that those vibes kind of start from the top and start with you. I feel like it takes a very supportive, kind type of artist to create such a awesome fan base as well.
Oh man,
so
thank you.
I would say it starts with you, really.
Oh my goodness, so nice, so generous. Thank you.
I'm very curious, how, if any, has your relationship with touring changed over time? Has it been interesting touring after many years? Is it different from when you first started off?
I mean, to be honest, in terms of like touring multiple dates in a row, I've only done that once in my life when I was like in my 20s. And I remember at the end of it, I'm like, I'm never touring again. This is horrible. I've made sure for myself and the band and people that are coming with that it's as comfortable as it can be. Because I think comfort is so important to like keeping your brain straight. The little things do add up.
Yes.
But I've been traveling with like really fun people. So it's been like going on a road trip to see the fall colors, which has been amazing because LA, I don't get that anymore.
That's right.
It's just green and then it goes brown. And I have a few LA locals and they haven't seen the fall colors. I'm like, oh, you're gonna have a great time.
It is so nice. I don't know if your route of how you're driving, but like Blue Ridge Mountains, like it's so gorgeous all over the state, because Virginia also does a pretty good job at like preserving a lot of the trees. It's such a privilege to see such beautiful foliage. So before we dive kind of into more of the musical questions, of course you have had a bit of a hiatus. You got back into performing, releasing music the past few years, and in the meantime you've had lots of different adventures and side quests. You are an arts professor, visual arts professor, which is really awesome. But one thing I found when I was digging up my little research for this interview that I thought was so fun and silly was that you were on Wheel of Fortune. And I just am dying to know what that was like, because that's such a silly side quest.
It was really interesting. I mean, it was kind of a little bit part of my art practice in that when I moved to LA, I was becoming a real post-studio artist, so more conceptual, less like a painting and put it on the wall. So I figured, like I'm in LA, I'm in like Mecca of media, and that's always something I've been interested in my work. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to make the game show studio my new art studio.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
How did that come into fruition? Like, how did you make it artistic?
Well, I sort of set up things that could be possibilities, because you really don't know what's going to happen. My hope was that when I was on there, I could do a type of performance that would be read live, or it could be a post-studio, like video project. And so I got a green screen tattooed on myself.
Oh my gosh.
And my hope is when I spun the wheel, you know how they have the videos behind?
Yeah.
That it would show through on my arm and sort of like puncture the illusion.
Oh my goodness. That's insane. That is so cool. And so creative. I would have never thought of doing that in a million years. That is so cool. And I like that it was attached to, so you're like, it's there.
Well, yeah, because like I didn't want it to be closed because they could be like, take that off. That's,
sure.
you know, so I wanted, and I only brought like short shirts so it wouldn't be covered.
That's so interesting. I'm a communications major, and so my media studies self is so geeked out by that. That's so cool. I need to be stepping up my game with performance artists when I'm hearing. But yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so talking a little bit more about getting back into the music scene, you had mentioned before that it was just kind of like a passing suggestion from your boyfriend to put your music on streaming, and it kind of picked up from there. What was the moment where you decided you wanted to release things that hadn't been released yet, or new music? Was that something that you had kind of always planned on doing, and that was the perfect opportunity? Or tell me about that.
Kind of yes and no. So like I call it Kittycraft 1.0 and then Kittycraft 2.0. So in the 1.0 era, I was recording and I had actually finished a whole record and then never released it.
Wow.
And I just shelved it because I was like, just kind of didn't feel right. You know, like, I don't know. I needed to step away from it. And so I've really been focusing on my visual art for many years. So then when this came around, it was originally more putting out, kind of re-releasing the things that have already been out there and just kind of like giving it for free on streaming. And but then when people started to show interest, I was like, well, why don't we release the previously unreleased record? So it's like that feeling of, you know, when you go to like some vintage store and they have totally unused items that is like new old stock.
Yeah.
And so it was really exciting for me to put out the Lost Tapes. That's kind of, I jokingly named it the Lost Tapes.
Lost shelf tapes.
Yeah, shelf tapes would be more accurate. And then just the opportunity to kind of dive in, and I was very productive, and there was a lot of unreleased material, so that's really been fun to kind of dig through tapes and see what's there.
That's awesome. A fun little archive and such a service to the fans. We appreciate all of the music releases immensely. So another thing I want to talk about is just kind of your general style. So your music is such a beautiful and unique mix of a lot of different genres. People have described it as indie-tronica, twee pop, dream pop, breakbeat pop, lo-fi, melodic hip-hop, everything under the sun. I'm very curious if in 3 words or phrases you could describe your sound. And this could be literal, it could be abstract like colors or shapes, you name it.
3 words? Ooh, that's tough.
Or phrases, it can be phrase.
Can it be phrases?
Yeah.
Okay. 90s hip-hop, Simon and Garfunkel folk, but with a chick.
But with a chick, that's the best part. That's what makes it.
That's the best I can explain it.
No, that's a really, really good description as well. I would say, because it is such an interesting mix. I don't know, it's very unique. It's a very unique sound you put together. And when I first started listening to your music, I don't know, I have this problem where I need to constantly listen to new sounds and new music all the time. So if I listen to, like, even my favorite artist for too long, I'll be like, I can't listen to this anymore.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so I got into a bit of a rough patch of just, like, everything was sounding repetitive, and I was just annoyed by everything. And then I found your music, and it kind of, like, marked a shift, because I was like, this is something different. Like, this is something
thank you.
really unique. And it kind of also put me down the path of a lot more, like, twee pop and trip hop, that kind of thing. So,
wonderful.
So
I'm the gateway drug.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just put that on a t-shirt. Kittycraft is the gateway drug.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I might have to do that.
So to talk a little bit more about this kind of like girly aesthetic, you have a very cohesive brand, both in your production, your lyricism, but even like the social media, posting like cat videos and that kind of thing. It's all very DIY and girly, but very introspective as well. It's like I'm transported to a patch of flowers and I'm, writing poetry and that kind of thing. Can you talk a little bit about like the development of that kind of style? Is it something that you knew right off the bat that you wanted to produce? Has it been almost a struggle to keep everything in the aesthetic, or is it kind of like a guidepost of your artistic production?
Well, I think I took a lot of cues from Beats and Breaks. And in terms of social media, this might sound overly simplified, but I literally just post stuff that makes me laugh. And I figure if it makes me laugh, it'll make someone else laugh. So I guess the through line or the continuity is me and what amuses me. I don't know if I purposefully sort of go out there to stick with a genre, because if you look at the other albums that are released, the artwork does variate. Yeah, I think Beats and Breaks is a very visual album, so sometimes I'll take cues from that.
Can you talk a little bit more about what it means to be a visual album? Like, what does that mean to you?
I guess we all have the experience of like buying or discovering a new artist record, and when they're like, they totally nail the cover art as an extension of the music. I think that's the goal of maybe everybody. Yeah, I think that's just another visual pathway, just like music is an auditory pathway, like to communicate the vibe of whatever.
For sure, yeah. Album art, super important. I sometimes will not pick up an album if I'm like, oh, it's kind of a boring.
Oh, no, totally.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
No, I'm judging.
No, I'm judging. Yeah, you're an art professor.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's important.
Totally.
Especially like AI art and how some artists have like started using AI to develop their album covers and some of their like promotion materials. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think just in my own experience, I mean, I'm no expert on AI at all. I think just like any tool, it has its uses, and then it can be also used not in a positive way.
Right.
I think the thing that is just the unknown. It's just like we've been sort of led to believe that this is the next revolution, right? And you're going to lose your job, and you're going to lose your job. And so I think there's a lot of concern and anxiety about it. Also, I think what's happening right now, at least what I'm seeing from my angle of the younger generation coming up, is that there's a real push against it. And I've noticed that from some of the feedback of fans. So I myself have not chose to go that direction. I prefer to cut up stuff myself.
DIY.
I think that in 360 Degrees, I think the younger generation also appreciates things like tapes and things you can hold and CDs. They really are embracing an analog kind of life as a, maybe perhaps this is a Pamism, I don't know if this is true, but like a reaction to that. You got raised with a computer and all these things. I was raised without a computer where you had to like type your reports.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think from a Gen Z perspective, I can tell, at least in my circle specifically, of like there is such a counter movement against digital intangible media. People, I mean, obviously look around the studio, we have CDs everywhere. We might not play them, but like even just owning them and like owning like vinyl records and that kind of thing is so valuable to my generation, I think, kind of as like a counter movement.
I kind of love it in that since AI is still this like nebulous, globular thing, that there are people and many people who are culturally like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel like having that keen eye hopefully can drive some of the policy of AI, right? If people don't use it, it will stop being used.
That's true.
I've got my popcorn on. I'm like, I want to see how this fleshes out, but I feel like having a cultural critique of it so early in its generation makes me more hopeful for it.
And it's very typical, going back to the media studies thing, for new media to receive backlash. I mean, people were against the printing press, you know, when it first came out.
Yeah,
and so
totally.
I think that even if AI doesn't go away, I think having kind of this pushback just makes us cautious of how we use it, especially in the arts, and making sure that, you know, artists aren't being their art isn't being stolen, and that artists are still able to produce their music and not be replaced.
But at the same time, there's a long history of taking from the old and bringing to the new. Like everything from rock and roll's birth. Like that's what's so wonderful about culture. Some can call it stealing, some can call it appreciating.
That's a good point.
And that's how like cuisines develop, right? Yeah. Not to glamorize that, because obviously some of those are from some very questionable things, right? And I acknowledge that. But it is ingrained in humanity.
Yeah, no, that's a really good perspective. And that actually is a really great segue also kind of into the production of your music and specifically like the sampling that you use, talking about taking inspiration and building off of the art that's come before you. What's kind of your process? How do you go about sampling for your music? You just listen to something and you're like, that's it, I'm gonna take that? Or are you like looking for specific things? Talk to me a little bit about that.
I think, when I go out there, I am sort of just whatever catches my attention. I have noticed there's some things that I generally am attracted to, either like note combinations that I'm now realizing I'm like, hey, that's, so I think I have my biases.
Sure.
I think it's also, I personally appreciate music that is kind of like hypnotic. Things that are, just sort of pull you in. One part perhaps a little folky, one part 70% yacht rock. Like it airs on maybe some of the sounds that I grew up with.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people have kind of described your sound as very nostalgic, especially because it's very girly and makes us think younger and more feminine, even though it's very introspective as well. Is there a song that just instantly transports you back to when you were a kid? Either a song or an album that every time you hear it?
Mine or somebody else's?
Someone else's music that transports you back.
Yes. This is going to sound really weird. There's one song that I remember growing up. I don't feel it as much anymore, but like for years, there's this one song that I remember my parents played when I was a baby, like crawling. I remember the color of the rug.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the Doobie Brothers, Black Water.
That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
And whenever I'd hear that, I literally like would feel being that old. And just, it was like the most astonishing, like, transportation.
Yeah, that's so cool. I also love the Doobie Brothers.
I mean, yacht rock.
Yeah, yacht rock is the best. Undeniably so. That's really awesome. I also I've looked. You've mentioned some of your recent musical tastes. Is it still true that you're very much into jazz right now? Is that?
I am into jazz. I feel like I want to be hugged right now. Like, I feel like I don't want to be, not saying that jazz isn't challenging, because there is a lot of complex jazz out there, and even the complex jazz I find to be one big hug.
Yeah.
I just need a place for my brain to like sit and be challenged, but in a really, like, I just need that respite. I need that space for myself.
Yeah, no, it is such a, would you say, like, is there a specific type of jazz, like the softer jazz or more, any specific era?
Again, I'll go back to that, like, sort of hypnotic type stuff. For instance, like Dave Brubeck's Take 5. I mean, I know that's kind of a popular one,
but it's so good.
It's so good. It's like,
it's popular for a reason.
It's popular for a reason, but I also like really experimental jazz, in the 60s, and they're like playing with like pedals and echoplexes and
like Sun Ra.
Yeah, I'm pretty open. But I, again, veer towards that something that sort of pulls me in, that I can kind of like the rhythm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And jazz is, gosh, the best for that. Such a unique genre.
I've really been into Bill Evans lately. Right?
My partner's a jazz drummer, and they're going to freak out when you
oh my gosh.
They're obsessed.
If you haven't checked Bill Evans
is
so good.
Really,
check it out
really
on YouTube.
I love a good jazz cafe. And
I mean, it's timeless. And I think with everything going on, like, the world is maddening enough that I just want to like cocoon up. That's my cocoon.
Well, and even with jazz, it's like a different language in a sense of like there's a lot of improvisation, but like that kind of like chaos is more comforting and more confined and like is a good distraction from the other chaos in the world,
And like analytically, I also like Coltrane's. Have you ever looked at his notation?
I actually have, yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's visual. Like, he would sort of create these boundaries, or I don't want to say rules, and it's like circular, and then there's allowable movement within that, but it looks like really witchy. It's really cool. If you haven't checked out any of John Coltrane's notations in his writing, it's so beautiful.
Really cool stuff. Kind of going back to more of the production side of things, how did you get into producing music? What was your journey with that?
Sure.
I'm very curious.
I did it the hard way, but the way that is possibly the most stabilizing. So like when I first started, I had a 4-track and a guitar, and I had nothing. I was playing with record skips, and I was making drum beats on like telephone books, which you probably don't even remember existed. So it was a real, kind of pulling things together and experimenting with what I had around me. And then when I started getting interested in the record skips, I got a 8-bit Gemini sampler that just had like a big button.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you wanted it to repeat, you did this. But I learned how loops work. And then I moved to like a Dr. Sample, which is like, you can kind of trim it and create these loops. And so it's just, I kind of like slowly walked up that hill from the most simple, like push the button if you want it to repeat, to, working on the computer and, using Pro Tools or in, digital platforms. So don't be afraid for those out there that are, interested in music. Don't feel like you have to go to A to Q or A to Z. Play with the steps in there. And I think that helps you take risks and imagine new possibilities.
I'm actually someone who I'm very interested in producing, and it's just kind of that roadblock of like, but like I have to learn so many skills all at one time. And
I mean, it can be as much as like getting a tape and putting it in a 4-track. Play with that. Play with microphones. It doesn't mean that you have to like, take a 12-week course in audio engineering.
Sure.
Eventually you might, but it's kind of like, be where you're at. That's not less than.
Yeah.
That's not, and that's what I think I want to really amplify. It's not less than at all.
Oh, yeah.
And I made some cool shit.
I concur.
Back when I was like, boink, or I was like playing with my 4-track and like taking a doll head and rubbing it on the strings, see what it sounded like, like be where you are, and no shame in that game.
On the same vein of advice, you started making music when you were very young. You got bass guitar, and your first band was Saucer. And I'm very curious, of course, we're a college radio station. We have a lot of people who are interested in the arts, making music, listening to music. What is a piece of advice you would give to teenagers, college students for making their own music, kind of where to start off?
I think the big piece of advice, and it seems really simple, but make music or make art that you would want to see. Because I feel like we are our own hardest critics, right? And if it passes by my eye, that's all I make stuff that I enjoy. Yeah. And so I feel blessed when other people enjoy it and it communicates something. Don't just stay in your own little cubby or hole, but know that you're already there.
Yeah.
That's why I said, like, on the social media, I post stuff that I just think is funny.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like a certain authenticity.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, of like that really shines through when an artist feels very connected to their music because it feels all authentic.
Thank you.
And
that's
that
very
definitely shines through in your music as
Thank
well.
you.
Which is, I think, a huge reason why people are so connected to your music.
Thank
you. It feels very Kitty Craft, very Pam. Even talking to you right now, it's like, wow, like, yes, it makes so much sense. Your personality, it's a very clear connection.
There you go, folks.
Yeah.
Be a walking brand.
Yeah.
Just who you are. Just
yourself.
be it.
It's classic advice.
And there's a lot of fear in that. If I could impart anything, it's just, well, you know what it's like not to do it. You've already been there. You know exactly what the outcome is. In a way, it's also not up to you to say if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
That's up to history.
Yeah, that's so frightening, but at the same time, I feel like also freeing of like, I can't control how people are going to receive this, but I like it. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like this, I feel like sometimes people are playing 3D chess on how to enter this world. I'm like, you're already there. And it's just like self-limiting. That's really the only thing that's putting between you and it.
So I'm very curious about your creative process of when you're sitting down making a song, what comes first? You work on the lyrics first? You work more on the production end of things? Or does it all just kind of manifest at the same time?
Definitely work on the production end of things. So I make the music before I do any lyrics. And some songs I just can't figure out lyrics to. Because what I'm reacting to when I'm writing lyrics is just the stanzation and like the syllables in the music, just the movement. And so that kind of like draws out my words. Yeah. And then I have a book of just kind of slop writing.
Yeah, have to.
And so I'll either write new stuff or kind of go back. And then it's almost like magnetic poetry. I'll kind of take little things and like put them together based on like the movement of the music.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you ever like, are you ever just like out and about and you're like, oh, like that's cool. Like I should write that down, or like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That happens.
What's the most random thing you've gotten inspiration from, would you say?
I saw a book that was like, so it was named like Obtuse Words, and it was like words that are seldom used that have like super weird meanings.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was just like, I need that book.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I haven't really used it that much to date, but it's just, I'm kind of in love with words.
Oh yeah.
And I've started making new music, and so this is something I'm really dealing with, and I think I've been having fun almost thinking of it as this kind of like eclectic poetry. And so I'm experimenting with how strong does the narrative have to be?
Yeah.
Is it just wordplay? So I'm kind of in this interesting space that I don't really have an answer for right now.
Well, we'll have to follow up later. That is a good segue. Also, kind of talking about where your two worlds of visual arts and music intertwine. You've mentioned before that visual arts and music are like your two children and you can't love them at the same time.
It's true.
I feel like it's such a really great way to describe it. But I feel like there's a lot that could probably interplay between the two
100%,
of them.
100%.
And a lot of how you describe some of your music and also just like the album covers and that kind of thing is like collages and kind of like it seems to take a lot from visual arts in your music. Can you talk a little bit about like how those two worlds kind of interact for you?
I mean, it's interesting because, like I said, when I moved to LA in 2014, I think the work that I started doing was very post-studio, more conceptually based.
Right.
So I still could make things, but they were towards an ultimate goal or idea.
Right.
And it was airing more on kind of political critique. And so then all of a sudden, switch, I'm like, happy cats.
Yeah,
right?
Best of both worlds.
Right? And so I'm kind of in the process of like figuring out like if the art and the music was a Venn diagram and like where is the overlaps.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I feel like the things that have come to me thus far is like the amazing people that I've got to meet through this, the fans, are just like the best humans you'd ever want to meet. And just so creating this community, and I love that, you know, a lot of my fans just are the creative types and totally left of center, and it gives me ultimate joy.
I think one of the last things I wanted to ask is, knowing what you know now, having experienced life as a art professor and an artist, also a musician, what is some advice that you would give a younger you throughout your art journey?
I think the advice that I gave earlier, I think you're so wrapped up in questioning, which is part of like being young, like that is part of the growth. But I keep thinking about, there's a Seinfeld episode. Seinfeld episode where George Costanza for one episode did everything opposite of what his intuition told him to do, and like he got money, like there, like all the good things came to him, and I feel like, you know, that was amusing, but at the same time, I think there's something to that, because all of us have that little voice in our head that comes up with ideas, and then the other voice goes, "That's stupid." Right? And I think if you just do it. Just do it. Just once.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know how to do something, that's okay. Do you think I had to relearn how to make music?
Yeah.
Because technology from like this time to this time has infinitely changed. There's YouTube videos. Yeah. You figure it out. And I think that's the real key, is that if people could trust that they can figure it out, you can figure it out. That's the only difference between me now and me back then, is like, I trust, thrown this new thing, that I can figure it out.
Yeah, that's really awesome advice. Wonderful outlook. Well, last thing I just want to ask, is there anything you want to add? Anything you want to throw out there to the wider audience of WDCE?
Gosh, just that I'm super excited to be here, and I'm really excited to play at Richmond Music Hall, and I wish I had more time here, because I do have some amazing friends that I would love to hang with longer. And just, you know, stay tuned. I think new things are afoot.
Oh, you heard it here, folks. New things. I'm very excited. Well, thank you so much for coming
you.
in today. It has been such a blast talking to you, and very insightful. So
Likewise.
I really
Thank you so much.
appreciate it.